The terminal blinks at 5:47 a.m. Not an alarm. Your body stopped needing alarms years ago. Hesitation costs money. 3 monitors on the wall. Green and red lines pulse in silence. Center screen. The exchange rate of a country with 14 million people. It holds. For now, on the desk, a black folder, no logo, no markings. Inside, a position worth $92 billion. 47 legal structures, 6 jurisdictions, forward contracts, put options, short position through SPVs in Delaware, the Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, every document signed, every structure cleared by 3 separate legal teams. Everything legal. That is not the remarkable part. The remarkable part is what happens in 3 hours when the central bank of that country opens its emergency session. You know the agenda, not because someone told you, because you understand how cornered people think, and you know they will make the wrong decision. You didn't start here. The machine taught you, and it started much earlier than this morning. Level 1. You are 23 years old, $87,000 in student debt. Your salary is $84,000 a year. After taxes, $56,000. After rent in New York, $31,000. The math has no margin. Your first day in the macro research division starts at 6 a.m. The office smells like conditioned air and old paper. 3 other analysts sit in their pods. Nobody talks, just servers, humming, and keystrokes. Your senior analyst is Daniel Forrest. He places a document on your desk one morning without a word. 12 pages. The Asian currency crisis of 1997. He walks away. You read it 3 times. You understand one thing. Currencies with fixed exchange rates are not economics. They are political promises. And promises can be mathematically stress tested. On the margin of page 7, pencil notes from a previous owner. The name matches a trader who made $950 million during that crisis. Forrest didn't give you a research paper. He gave you a map. You find the first country. Small open economy. Currency pegged to the dollar for 9 years. Current account deficit at 7% of GDP. Inflation at 11. Reserves at 12 billion. You write 2 pages. No recommendations, only numbers. Forrest reads it, places it down, says one word, continue. That night you don't sleep. Not because you're anxious, because you already know which country is next. Level 2. 2 years later, your first independent position, $200 million short against an overvalued regional currency. Forward contracts, 90-day expiry, risk limit at 50 basis points. You use 38. The central bank defends. Day 1, $400 million in reserves spent. Day 6, $3 billion total. Week 9, they announce a temporary adjustment of the exchange rate mechanism. The official term for losing to a 25-year-old with a spreadsheet, $31 million. Clean. You sit at the terminal when the rate breaks. You feel nothing unusual. Not adrenaline, quiet confirmation. The model worked. A leaked internal protocol from that central bank's emergency session surfaces 7 years later. The chairman's exact words. We do not understand who is behind the pressure on the rate. The source is distributed. It has no face. It had a face, hidden behind forward contracts. Your managing director calls you in. Floor 33, view of the Hudson. He doesn't ask how you did it. He asks which one is next. Level 3. You are 29, 4.3 billion in AUM. 7 analysts report to you. The decisions are yours. You build a thesis against a currency with a fixed peg, supported by a government receiving IMF credit. Reserves at 21 billion. Elections in 4 months. The government cannot devalue before the vote, politically impossible. So they will spend reserves every day to hold the rate. That is predictable. Predictability is opportunity. You build the position across 3 instruments: forward contracts, barrier put options, interest rate swaps against local sovereign bonds. Total size, $6.8 billion. Pension funds, university endowments, insurance companies. Not your money, never your money. One analyst comes to your office, 24 years old. He asks, if we are right and the currency falls, what happens to people with savings there? You say, the currency is already mispriced. We don't create the imbalance, we discover the one that already exists. He nods, leaves. That answer is true, not the whole truth. The distance between what you said and what you didn't. That is the language of the system. If this is the world you want to understand, subscribe. Now, back to the machine. 3 weeks later, his name appears on a resignation letter. The machine doesn't keep people who ask that question twice. Level 4. You lose for the first time. Properly. $3.2 billion. Short against an Asian currency. Your thesis is correct. Current account deficit widening. Reserves shrinking. Inflation above target. But the central bank receives a credit line from a regional neighbor, $38 billion. No public announcement. The protocol of the closed signing session appears on Bloomberg 4 hours later. The rate doesn't fall. It strengthens 3% in 2 days. You close a position, loss of $164 million. Not because the model was wrong, because a political agreement was made in a room with no transcript. You write a 6-page postmortem. What failed? What was foreseeable? What wasn't? Then you join a closed network of 19 macro analysts. No registered name, no public address, $120,000 a year. Payment description, one word, research. 3 of the 19 are former central bank employees from G7 nations. You lost $164 million. In return, you gained access to conversations that happen before decisions are announced, not mathematics. Proximity. That is the real edge, and you just paid for it. Level 5. 31 SPVs, 7 jurisdictions, 47 days to register all structures. Different nominee directors, different legal addresses, same activity classification in every charter, derivative financial operations. No single regulator sees the full picture. Not because you hit it, because no single regulator has jurisdiction over all 7. That is not a loophole. That is the architecture the system built itself. A room in Geneva, 8 people, no agenda, no recording. One family office manager describes a situation. Small country, fixed currency peg, central bank losing reserves, government politically unable to announce devaluation. He doesn't want a trade idea. He wants to understand the mechanics. You explain. When reserves fall below 3 months of import coverage, the market begins testing the peg automatically. Not because anyone attacks, because institutional investors start hedging currency risk. That alone creates pressure. Pause. When institutional investors hedge, it's called risk management. When hedge funds go short, it's called an attack. The difference is size and who moves first. Nobody says the next step out loud. Everyone in the room understands it. The position opens. 31 clocks begin ticking simultaneously. And in a government building, 14 time zones away, a central bank governor opens his morning briefing. The reserves number has changed overnight. He doesn't know why yet. Level 6. Day 1 of the defense, $4 billion in reserves spent. Day 2, $6.3 billion. Day 3, 9. The peg holds, temporarily. You are not trading. The position is open. 31 SPVs execute forward contracts simultaneously across different time zones. No single point of entry, no legal coordination between structures. 31 separate market participants, each making a lawful transaction. The central bank sees pressure from every direction. They cannot identify the source. The source is distributed. It has no face. Hour 72. Reserves fall below the critical threshold. $8 billion remaining. 3 months of import coverage. Exactly the number you named in Geneva. The market begins testing the peg on its own. Local companies buy dollars to hedge. Local banks raise rates on foreign currency deposits. Not an attack, a reaction. The reaction you positioned for. 96 hours after the position opened, the central bank announces a managed rate correction. The currency falls 43%, $2.8 billion. Clean. You sign 3 documents. Drink cold coffee. A leaked internal dashboard reconstructed by journalists 4 years later shows the chairman's handwritten note on the reserves chart from that Friday evening. His deputy says in an interview 7 years later it was not a word. It was a number. 0. Level 7. The Parliamentary Commission publishes its report. They call it a coordinated speculative attack by foreign hedge funds. Journalists find one SPV name in the Cayman Islands corporate registry. They publish. Your personal name is not there. Nominee directors, legal addresses, everything clean. The regulator requests documentation, 283 pages, every contract, every legal opinion, every compliance form, 8 months. The official letter uses one phrase. All operations were conducted in accordance with applicable law at the time of execution. 6 weeks after the letter, the country's parliament passes new legislation, the Currency Sovereignty Protection Act. It describes your structure precisely and prohibits it. You read it on a Tuesday morning. By then, you are already building the next one. The briefing on consequences runs 20 pages. Inflation up 31%. 2,100,000 people below the poverty line. You read all 20 pages. It takes 40 minutes. Then you open the next file. 3 other countries, similar patterns, similar political constraints. The machine does not pause. You stopped pausing 3 years ago. The 40 minutes were the last time. Level 8. You are 45. No title on your business card. Just a name. The people who need to know who you are already know. The call comes at 6:18 a.m. Encrypted line. No caller ID. A deputy minister of finance from a G7 nation. He doesn't introduce himself. He assumes you know. You do. If we announce the currency swap agreement before the summit, what does the market do? You answer without pausing. The market reads it as policy coordination. Local currency strengthens 2 to 3% within 48 hours, then corrects when investors realize it's a political signal, not a structural fix. 190 seconds. The call ends. 4 days later, the announcement comes exactly as you described. Your fund holds $8 billion in local bonds. Currency strengthening generates $112 million in mark-to-market gains. You gave an opinion. The opinion aligned with your position. The regulator reviews it 4 months later. No violations established. The people you trust number fewer than 8. You tried to make a list once. You stopped at 7 names. Your daughter is not on it. Not because you don't love her, because you stopped thinking of her as someone you trust. You think of her as someone you protect. The distance between those two words, that is what 20 years inside the machine actually costs. Somewhere in a glass tower in a city that never stops moving, a 23-year-old opens a terminal for the first time. Badge still smells like the printer, young face, confident smile. Tie slightly crooked. Analyst, macro research division. He thinks he knows what this is about. He doesn't. Nobody does on the first day. His manager sends a file. Excel model. 38 tabs. Metadata shows the template hasn't been updated in 19 years. The machine doesn't modernize entry-level tools. Because they work. He thinks the system rewards hard work. He is not wrong, but he is not right either. The system rewards the ability to read 20 pages of consequences and open the next file. The system rewards the ability to say something true in a room in Geneva and never say the next step out loud. The system rewards the ability to stop making lists that include your daughter's name. He doesn't know this yet. The machine teaches everyone eventually. Some leave after the first lesson. The machine does not miss them. The terminal blinks. The market opens. 47 floors above him, you close your eyes for 11 minutes before the next call. You don't think about him. You think about the position. $3.8 billion in emerging market debt. The central bank announcement comes in 4 hours. The machine doesn't stop. It finds new people willing to run it because it was never about the currency.